Joining us now for more on the typhoon is Bob Henson in Denver, Colorado. He's a weather and climate science blogger for Weather Underground. He also wrote the book, The Thinking Person's Guide to Climate Change. Bob, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Good to be here.
So what is your biggest concern when you look at Soudelor? Are you worried about heavy winds, the rain, flooding, landslides? What is your biggest concern?
Well, certainly Soudelor has some pretty formidable winds. As was noted a few minutes ago, top winds of 160 kilometers an hour. Those are certainly weakening now and will continue to weaken as it heads toward China. However, the amount of rain that's falling is pretty impressive. There's one spot in far northeast Elaine province that has already received more than 1,100 millimeters of rain in the last 2 days, and about half of that was just in the last few hours. So those tremendous amounts of rainfall in a very mountainous area will no doubt lead to some landslides, mudslides. This happened during Typhoon Morakot in 2009. Now the blessing, if there is one, is that this storm is moving a little more rapidly and on a more direct course. So it's not going to linger as long as Morakot did. But I still worry that there will be some loss of life and substantial damage in some of these more remote places in northern mountainous Taiwan.
Bob, Jim Spellman here in Washington. How big of a threat is inland flooding, not just when the eye of the storm is moving over, but in the hours to come?
Well, that's a really good point. This is a large storm, and so it goes well beyond just the eye and the eye wall. That portion of the storm passed close to central Taiwan, but the strongest part of the storm is always the right-hand side. So in this case, that was the northern side, which brought it across not only Taipei and the populated area there, but the northeastern coastline and the northern mountains. So those are the areas I'm personally thinking about the most and most concerned about. And certainly there will be a lot of flooding, and the rains will probably continue, even though the system will be moving offshore in the next several hours. They'll still be getting heavy rain through most of the day on Saturday.
Bob, China has been tracking and updating the storm every hour. How important is that in preparedness and in really warning citizens what to look out for?
Well, once an hour tracking is certainly, I think, a good thing. We now have satellite measurements, for example, from Japan's new Himiwari satellite, that monitor and report back imagery of the storm every 10 minutes. It used to be closer to once every half hour to every hour. So the more frequent satellite imagery makes it possible to detect when, for example, there might be a quick rapid intensification going on. So with a lot of hurricanes and typhoons, I think that could be really important. In this case, it may not be so critical because it's a pretty well-behaved typhoon. It's moving on a pretty direct, steady course, and there's not a whole lot of uncertainty about what's going to happen. It will probably be a minimal typhoon when it hits China. Probably a lot of rain, and a lot of times as these storms move inland, they actually enlarge even further. So winds shouldn't be as much of a problem, but there could be quite a large area of heavy rain, not quite as heavy, say in the order of a meter like we were talking about, but certainly hundreds of millimeters are very possible along the East China coast and inland.
Bob, do we expect the storm to pick up, gain more power when it gets over the water before it hits the mainland?
Well, often storms do gain intensity as they move over water. In this case, it really doesn't quite have enough time. It'll only be over the ocean again for maybe less than 24 hours. And because the circulation is so disrupted by passing over the mountains, it's really not going to have enough time to reorganize and then re-strengthen. So that's the good news. It will almost certainly be weaker as it comes off Taiwan, and then I wouldn't expect it to re-intensify. It may even weaken a little bit further. But again, all that energy will be spreading out over a large area, so a huge shield of rain could be expected as it moves in. So flooding could be a concern in China as well as in Taiwan.
All right, Bob Henson, thank you so much for your time, sir.
Thank you.